Good afternoon, everyone, and you're watching ASEAN Business Report. Today is Monday, the 26th of September, 2011, and you're with us. I'm Thakon Plodi.
And I'm Weena Jongprasit.
Good, Weena. Let's sum up the latest developments in the economic realm. Last week, it was a pretty brutal trading week as Asian currencies had its biggest weekly drop since 1998. And global economy has also dimmed exports, which the investors now are sticking closer to safer bets when compared to emerging market assets.
And in terms of Thailand, last week we saw the stock exchange of Thailand index fell 7.3%, which was the biggest loss since November 2008.
And furthermore, downgrades. We saw the downgrade of three major banks in the United States, Bank of America, Citibank, Wells Fargo, and then further downgrade in 7 banks in Italy. And now latest on Friday, there was 8 downgrades of Greek banks by 2 notches.
That's right, and there was also a meeting in Washington last Friday, which was by the IMF.
Yep. And the finance ministers and central bankers meeting in Washington are calling on European Union to take quick action to deal with their Eurozone debt crisis as it may contagion and contaminate other countries, Karina.
Yeah, and the meeting came after warnings from the IMF and the U.S. Federal Reserve that the economic recovery is at risk. Well, of those attending the meeting was also Bank of Thailand Governor Dr. Pridiyathorn, who also commented on Thailand's interest rate situation. So on the same news, Thailand's central bank may cut its economic growth projections as the global recovery falters, signaling there may be less scope for interest rates to rise further. Inflation expectations are not likely to increase, and the Bank of Thailand has closed the gap somewhat on normalizing borrowing costs. BOT Governor Prasan Triratwarakul said in an interview in Washington on September 24th. The bank is due to unveil forecasts next month. Europe's debt crisis and a weakening U.S. recovery are threatening growth in Asia, prompting central banks from South Korea to the Philippines to refrain from rate increases in recent months. The Bank of Thailand bucked that trend by raising its key rate for a 7th straight meeting last month, citing inflation risks posed by the government's plan to raise wages and support rice prices. Looking at the current developments in the world market, you may probably get somewhat lower inflation expectations, Prasan said. If that were so, we would probably have closed the gap somewhat, although there still remains domestic momentum. I would say there is some possibility for downward adjustments in growth forecasts, he said. The central bank currently expects gross domestic product to increase 4.1% in 2011 and 4.2% next year. Philippines Central Bank Governor Armando Tatanco is facing a similar challenge, saying in September 24 interview that Bangko Sentral Mag Filipinas will probably leave interest rates unchanged for the rest of 2011. Thailand's central bank lifted the benchmark interest rate to 3.5% on August 24th, the 9th increase since the start of July 2010, and said the rate is now close to normal levels. Thai inflation accelerated to 4.29% in August, the fastest pace since 2008, as rising food prices countered a decline in oil costs. Core inflation, which excludes fresh food and fuel, was 2.85%. The central bank uses core inflation to guide monetary policy and aims to keep the gauge at less than 3%.
Former Finance Minister M.R.Pridiyathorn has warned that Vietnam will overtake Thailand as the world's #1 rice exporter if the Yingluck government goes ahead and implements the rice pledging scheme. Pridiyathorn warned that the government would face big trouble, including corruption in its huge rice stockpile and the loss of budget spending to subsidize the program. In addition, the government will monopolize the rice market, and that would damage the market mechanism and the rice export business. He said the rice pledging scheme under many previous governments have led to loss of bargaining power to importers, loss of export opportunities amid rising market prices, degradation of quality, as well as corruption among politicians, officials, rice millers, and exporters. The Bank for Agriculture and Agricultural Cooperatives, which will facilitate implementation of the program, would be spending an estimated 400 billion baht, while the government would subsidize a projected loss of 250 billion baht. Thai rice export volume has fallen from 10.1 million tons in 2003 to 2004 to 7.28 million tons in 2004 to 2005. This paved way for Vietnam to increase its export volume from 4.3 million tons to 5.17 million tons in the same period. Rice export volume dropped again to 8.52 million tons during the Samak Suntharawet government in 2008 to 2009, who introduced rice price subsidy of 2,000 baht per ton. Meanwhile, Vietnam's rice export was 5.95 million tons.
On the line with us, we have M.R.Pridiyathorn Thewakul, who is the former finance minister and also former Bank of Thailand governor. สวัสดีค่ะคุณ Pridiyathorn. Welcome to the program.
สวัสดีครับ
Good afternoon. We're talking with Nathakorn and Veena.
Yeah, first of all, we want to hear your perspective on the rice pledging scheme, in which you have said that it would require a 400 billion baht spending, and the government will subsidize a projected loss of 250 billion baht. Now, how has you come up with the figure 250 billion baht?
You have to look at the record in the past few years. Let's say in the year 2001 on the second crop. In the year 2001 on the second crop, the rice, there was a rice mortgage scheme of about 4 million tons. Okay, our 4 million tons, the price, the pledging price or the mortgage price is about 2,000 baht over the market price. Okay. Which means that if you mortgage the rice at 2,000 baht over the market price, and if you can sell at the market price later on, you will make a loss of 2,000 baht per ton or 8,000 baht for the 4 million tons. Okay, that's for 2551. However, it ends up that finally out of these 4 million tons, the total loss was about 24.4 billion baht. 24.4 billion baht, not 8 billion baht. Okay, and if you add the interest, the additional interest, it becomes like 26 billion baht. So per tonnage, per ton, the loss is not 2,000, but it's add up to 6,500 baht per ton, about 3 times. The same experience is in for the year 2052, the second crop as well. At that time, there was about 5.3 million tons of rice mortgaged with the BAC at the price which is also 2,000 baht over the market price. Which, if you take the mortgage and sell at the market price, supposed to lose at only 2,000 tons per 2,000 baht per ton, which means of 5.3 should be like 10.6 billion baht. However, after finally the rice has been sold, the total loss add up to 28 billion, and together with the interest and the interest rate, it become 33 billion baht, which is about 3 times of the loss that they're supposed to lose. Okay, so this is the experience in the past.